Conflict is not the enemy of high performance. Avoidance is. The research on this is unambiguous. Teams that engage with conflict constructively consistently outperform teams that suppress it. Because underneath most workplace conflict is a disagreement about priorities, processes, or values. And those disagreements, if resolved, improve the organization. The problem is not conflict itself. The problem is that most managers were never taught how to navigate it with any skill or structure. The result is a workplace full of avoided tensions that harden into resentment, passive-aggressive dynamics, and the kind of accumulated friction that no amount of team-building exercises will clear. This video gives managers a step-by-step framework for addressing workplace conflict in a way that resolves the actual issue, not just the surface symptom. The first milestone is accurate diagnosis, understanding what kind of conflict you are actually dealing with before attempting any resolution. There are three primary types. Task conflict is disagreement about what work needs to be done, how it should be done, or what the right decision is. Research by Jen and others shows that moderate task conflict in teams correlates with better decisions because it forces multiple perspectives to be considered. The key word is moderate. High-intensity task conflict stops being productive and becomes personal. Relationship conflict is interpersonal tension, clashes of personality, communication style, or values. This type almost never produces positive outcomes and needs to be addressed quickly and directly. Process conflict is disagreement about how responsibilities, workflows, or decisions are allocated. It is the most fixable type and often points to a structural problem that management created and management can solve. Knowing which type you are dealing with determines which intervention is appropriate. Applying a process solution to a relationship conflict, or vice versa, is how well-intentioned managers make things worse. The second milestone is the resolution conversation, the structured dialogue that moves conflict from position to interest. Most workplace conflict resolution fails because both parties enter the conversation defending their position rather than articulating their underlying interest. Positions are statements of what someone wants. Interests are the reasons they want it. A manager insisting on a reporting format and a team member rejecting it are holding positions. Beneath those positions might be the manager's interest in data consistency and the team member's interest in not spending 3 hours on a form that no one uses. When both interests are on the table, solutions that satisfy both become visible. The three-step structure for this conversation. First, each person states what they are experiencing. Not what the other person is doing wrong, but what the impact is on their work. Second, each person states their underlying interest. Third, together, they generate options. The manager's role is to facilitate this process, not to arbitrate a verdict. When possible, resolution owned by the parties involved sustains far longer than resolutions imposed from above. The third milestone is preventive conflict management, designing team structures and norms that reduce unnecessary conflict before it ignites. Three practices make the most consistent difference. First, clarity of roles and responsibilities. More than half of interpersonal workplace conflict has an unclear ownership or accountability structure at its root. A RACI matrix, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed, is not bureaucracy. It is conflict prevention. Second, team norms around communication. Teams that explicitly discuss how they will handle disagreement, how decisions will be made, and what respect looks and sounds like in their specific context have significantly lower rates of destructive conflict. Third, regular one-on-ones. Managers who maintain consistent individual relationships with team members catch early-stage tensions before they escalate to crises. Most conflict that requires formal intervention was visible much earlier to anyone paying attention. Here's the trap. The most well-documented failure in workplace conflict management is the manager who positions themselves as the judge. I've heard both sides, and here's my decision. This approach resolves the immediate dispute and almost nothing else. The underlying interests are unaddressed. The relationship between the parties is unchanged, and the precedent set is that future conflicts should be brought to the manager for resolution, a dynamic that creates dependency, overloads leadership, and prevents teams from developing the conflict competence they need to function at a high level. Managers who build conflict resolution capability in their teams are building something far more valuable than peace. They are building psychological safety, the confidence that disagreement is not dangerous, that different perspectives will be engaged rather than suppressed, and that the team can hold tension long enough to find the best answer rather than settling for the most comfortable one. Your go-do: identify one unresolved conflict, real or simmering, in your team right now. Diagnose which of the three types it is. Then schedule a conversation where you begin not with your resolution, but with the question, tell me what this situation looks like from where you sit. What you learn in the first 5 minutes of that conversation will change the approach entirely. Strong conflict resolution is built on a foundation of emotional intelligence, specifically, the ability to read what is happening beneath the surface. The emotional intelligence video in this series goes exactly there. Make it your next stop. Thomas-Kilmann's conflict resolution model, one of the most validated frameworks in organizational behavior research, identifies 5 conflict resolution styles based on 2 dimensions: assertiveness and cooperativeness. Competing is high assertiveness and low cooperativeness, pursuing one's own position without regard for the other party. Accommodating is low assertiveness and high cooperativeness, yielding to the other party. Avoiding is low on both, withdrawing from the conflict. Compromising is moderate on both, finding a middle ground that partially satisfies both parties. Collaborating is high on both, seeking a solution that fully addresses the concerns of both parties. The important insight from the Thomas-Kilmann model is not that one style is always correct. Each style is appropriate in different contexts. Competing is appropriate in genuine emergencies or when defending against clearly inappropriate behavior. Accommodating is appropriate when the relationship matters more than the outcome on a specific issue. Avoiding is sometimes appropriate when the timing is wrong for a productive conversation. Compromising is useful when a quick resolution is needed and neither party has a strongly held interest. Collaborating is most appropriate when both parties have legitimate concerns that deserve full consideration and when the ongoing relationship is important. What makes a conflict resolution style dysfunctional is not the style itself, but its rigidity. The manager who always avoids conflict is failing their team, but so is the manager who treats every disagreement as a zero-sum competition. One practical addition to the structured conflict resolution process: the development of team conflict agreements, explicit team norms about how disagreement will be handled, developed proactively rather than in the middle of a specific dispute. Teams that have had the conversation about how they will navigate conflict before a conflict arises consistently handle actual conflict more constructively than those who have not. This is one of the most effective uses of the first meeting of any new team or newly configured team. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, hit like and subscribe to our channel for more practical insights. And if you're ready to go further, check out the next video on your screen.